Welcome to another major update where I completely rebuild the central market square and show you a special technique for placing Lego cobblestones that creates a spectacular and realistic effect for this historic part of the city. Every Lego fan needs to see this, so let's dive right in. Right now, the square is still covered with blue-gray square tiles, but seriously, where do you ever see that type of paving in real historic cities? That's why I'm taking this project to the next level by making it look even more authentic. I've also built a bunch of market stalls across the square, which adds some fun atmosphere, but let's be honest, in real life, you wouldn't usually see these stalls permanently set up in such a central location of an old city district. So once again, I headed to my local Lego store and stocked up big time to make sure I have everything I need to bring this project to life. I stacked 6 large boxes mainly with white, 6x8 stud plates, and 1x3 stud bricks. Because everything in my city is built modularly, I need to cover massive areas with plates, so you can never have too many of them. It's way more cost-effective to stack and buy these from the pick-a-brick wall instead of ordering online. I also picked up a lot of white 1x4 stud tiles because, as you know, I want everything in my city to be tiled with as few visible studs as possible. The selection at the pick-a-brick walls changes regularly, and unfortunately, some valuable bricks have been removed lately like the white 1x2 brick, which I use in almost every building for finishing interior walls or building staircases. So yes, I kind of panicked when I heard it's no longer going to be offered in store because that means I'll have to spend a lot more ordering it online. Luckily, one of the Lego store employees brought out a big box of white 1x3 bricks, so I grabbed a bunch to use as a replacement for the 1x2 bricks. I also stocked up on white 2x2 bricks that I plan to use in the future for the skyscrapers I'm building at the back of the city. In addition to that purchase, I also ordered 2,500 light gray tiles online that I'll be using to place the cobblestones. Because these tiles have rounded edges, you can still see the surface underneath, which creates a nice effect thanks to the variation it adds. Now that I have all the bricks I need, it's time to move forward with tearing down the old market square and applying the new cobblestone technique. As you can see in the footage, this is exactly why modular building is so important. You always want the ability to make changes later in your projects. We remove all the market stalls, the terrace, and the minifigures and begin pulling up the blue-gray tiles. This was a brutal task that took me over 2 hours to finish. This is definitely the less enjoyable part of building with Lego, but when you keep the final result in mind, it's more than worth it. Now that all the tiles are finally removed, I thought I could start placing the new cobblestones, but I was wrong. I quickly realized that I had to lower the base layer so the new cobblestones would sit at the exact same height as the surrounding streets. Because of the technique I'm using, I couldn't do this on the current foundation. Before I could start placing the new cobblestones, I had to figure out what the layout of the square should look like. I decided to design a large fountain that would become the centerpiece of the plaza. This is something you often see in old European cities, so it definitely had to be part of my historic city center. At first, I planned to place the new cobblestones side by side in the same repeating pattern, but as you can see in the footage, that didn't create a realistic look. I'll show you how I fixed that in just a moment, but first, we're going to raise the large gray building by adding an extra floor to give it more presence compared to the surrounding structures. This building has a central location in the city, so it needed to rise above the surrounding structures. I want to create a historic city, and those are made up of tall and impressive buildings, which means older builds sometimes have to be modified. Now that that's done, we place the base plates back in position and I start applying the technique to create the ideal pattern for laying the cobblestones. For this, I ordered a massive amount of dark gray 1-stud-wide plates online, which will form the entire foundation of the square. Each plate needs to be positioned half a stud off from the next to allow the cobblestones to be placed in the correct staggered pattern. These knob tiles need to be placed in an alternating pattern with the dark gray plates laid between them, just like we're used to when building with Lego. It has to be exactly half a stud offset, so the cobblestones can be rotated 90 degrees. This way, the surface between the bricks gets covered more effectively than if you were to place them all in the same direction, which just doesn't look as good. It was a real challenge to finish all the corners and edges because not all cobblestones could be placed using the same method. If I had done that, it would have created gaps between the plaza and the surrounding streets, and that's something you definitely want to avoid because every section needs to line up perfectly. You can clearly see in the footage how I'm placing the cobblestones and what the final result will look like. And let's be honest, this is going to look absolutely amazing. I'm now continuing with laying the foundation where the plates will be placed. I had to carefully measure everything in advance to make sure the plates would be properly supported and securely attached. Now that the foundation is prepared, I can start placing the dark gray plates, which also takes a lot of time since some areas don't fit the long 1x2 plates that cover about 90% of the layout. I intentionally chose a dark gray color for the base because, in my opinion, it matches perfectly with the light gray cobblestones, and they're all natural tones commonly used in real-world paving as well. Now we can finally begin placing the cobblestones, and you can already see how realistic this is going to look once the entire area is covered like this. If you thought removing the old tiles was a tough job, then this definitely isn't for you. It took me forever to lay each brick in the same pattern, piece by piece. Over 3 hours later, all the cobblestones are finally in place, but just look at that result. It gives the square that classic old town look I was aiming for. To bring the plaza to life, I'm adding some tourists trying to capture the perfect photo of the beautiful, iconic cathedral. We're also placing a few street musicians to boost the lively atmosphere, plus several other minifigures walking across the square on their way to City Hall or the nearby train station that borders the plaza. Personally, I'm super happy with how it turned out, but I'm also really curious what you think of the technique I used. How do you build the most realistic cobblestone streets in your LEGO city? And what did you think of my method? Let me know in the comments. By doing so, you also help this video get seen by more LEGO fans around the world. So don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to my channel, or even become a member for just a small monthly fee. That way, you won't miss any updates, and you'll get access to exclusive content where I show exactly how I design my builds and how I buy LEGO as affordably as possible. A few weeks ago, I used a different technique to create an entire cobblestone street, so make sure to check out that video to see how I pulled it off. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next LEGO City update.